You're the best kept secret in town tonight, that's all.
That's good, that's good. You know what's weird is Mandy put it in the Iowa
Yeah, the source, yeah.
source,
But not the weekly.
but, you know, and then Janet's like,
Give people instructions.
it's called, nobody reads the Iowa source. So we learn.
So I got an email from my sister-in-law a couple weeks ago about it, so. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, some of us would email info.
Hey, it's so good to see you. Wish you could stay.
Hey, have a wonderful time
I've got to
down.
pack and get, you know, I'm gonna get up early in the morning and be on my way.
Where are you going?
Minneapolis,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
350 miles.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're a small, intimate group. So anyway, if there were 6 of us here, 4 would have some sort of chronic illness. Isn't that interesting? Because 60% of the people have been diagnosed with a chronic inflammatory condition. I would imagine, you know, 3 of you here do have something. And 30% have been diagnosed with 2 or more. This is real ugly information because the biggest problem we're having in the United States is an inflammatory excess epidemic. And 800,000 people died of heart disease last year, 500,000 from cancer, 420,000 from reported iatrogenic deaths. What does that mean? Iatrogenic is the secret doctor's way of saying, oh, we caused your death. So it's the 3rd leading cause. And if all of them were reported, they're thinking it's more than cancer. So going to a doctor is hazardous for your health. Which I love doctors because I am one. And I love myself. But I quit practicing medicine because what I saw it was doing. Most of our diseases begin in the intestinal tract, parasites and fungus and those kind of things. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the microbiome because if you're going to detox, we need to fix the microbiome. What is the microbiome? The microbiome is the type of bugs that are living on your body. Now there's good microbiomes and then there's bad microbiomes. And what they found with the modern diet, with all the chemicals, with all the radiation, with all the different, eating too many sugars and different things, all of us don't have a good microbiome anymore because we killed off all the good things and let the bad stuff in. And with GMOs, we're eating the bad stuff. And so they're going to find, and God bless them, I was told not to be a Monsanto basher. You know, yes. And so what I decided was I was going to thank them for helping us see that we need to ascend above all the stuff that they're creating and uncreate it. And one of the things, I have a little story about this. I have become so sensitive to toxins. If I am barefoot and I step in an insecticide or a pesticide or an herbicide, my feet start burning. And it's happened so frequently over the last 2 years, I have to go in and wash my feet off to get the burning to go away, and it still takes an hour or 2 to get it gone. I've been, using my God self. And the other night, my wife and I were up to a conference, and they had some sort of pesticide on the carpet of this motel.
Oh, God.
And I stepped on it, and my feet just started burning. I felt like I wanted to be a cockroach, lay on my back just to get the stuff off my feet. And I laid in my bed, and I was just sitting there. It was burning, burning, burning. And I was miserable. And I said, okay, God, what's going on? It says it's a pesticide. And I'm like, well, how do I get rid of it? And the Spirit said, you know how to get rid of this. You just uncreate it. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I uncreate it because I learned how to do that with the ayahuasca down in Peru. And so I laid there and I said, okay, I'm going to uncreate this pesticide that's on my feet. while I'm at it, I'm going to uncreate it on the floor so I don't go walk in it again and get my feet burning again. You know, so you have to look outside of yourself even at the community. And then I go, well, what about the rest of the hotel? Should I just uncreate? Because, you know, what about the other people walking around the rooms getting these pesticides in them? And I got really strong, clean up the whole hotel. And so I did it, and believe it or not, within 5 minutes, my feet stopped burning. And it was the quickest they've stopped burning ever. And I encountered a pesticide again, here in Fairfield. I was walking barefoot, because, you know, we're trained, you got to ground to the earth, you know. And I hit some herbicide, my feet start burning. So I was like, okay, I got to uncreate this. And I was walking out in the grass, and so I uncreated it, and boom, within, you know, a couple of seconds, my feet stopped burning. So we are very powerful. We remember we've got God inside of us. Each one of you is a God inside of you. And we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten what to do. Even I forget what to do because of all these pesticides and herbicides and bugs in our brain and fungus in our brain, and all these different things are making us forget who we truly are. And we can create or uncreate. We are the gods. We are the ones who make this stuff. So just know I honor you in your godness, and hopefully we'll get that going so we can heal each other and help each other. We're all interconnected. This planet, if it goes down, we all go down. I mean, there's no doubt of that. And
So why do we need the herbs and all these things? Why can't we just uncreate it through our minds like the way we create it?
Faith. Faith is a lost art. If you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Yeah. And I believe if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can heal yourself instantly. Developing that faith is what's important.
If I might just throw in to answer your question really specifically, nature has provided absolutely everything for our healing.
Oh, I know that.
And so it's just a
trying to
matter of finding
figure out how to use it and
it's just a matter of finding the right combination of herbal nature for you.
And
yeah.
But
And
that's
why we
we're
need
talking
yours.
about a needle in a haystack
That's why we
here.
need yours.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about this a little
divine
bit.
will tell you what
Well,
herbs
trying.
you need, you know.
But you know.
Yes. So, what's interesting about the flora and the fauna? What was the first creature to be on this planet? It was a bacteria. Believe it or not, you go back, they're 5 billion years old. The Earth was created about 5 billion years ago. Bacteria. And who came next? Parasites that preyed on the bacteria. And what came next?
People who ate the parasites, or whatever ate the parasites.
Parasites started becoming more evolved and became like the fish and different crustaceans and different things. And you know, evolution brought this. But what did all of these creatures have in their guts?
Bacteria.
Bacteria. And back then they were great bacteria. They were bacteria that formed from the light of the sun and the substance of the earth. And if you think about it, we need to go back and have those good bacteria back in our gut, because they have the life force of the sun. They have the life force that's in our mitochondria. You know, the little organelles they call mitochondria? All they are is bacteria that help us produce ATP.
So then why do, when I eat, because I know this like fermented vegetables, sauerkraut and all these things make me even worse feeling, or it's like they're feeding and making things worse when I do like bacteria, even probiotic type stuff, it makes me feel itchy and fungusy.
Yes. The reason why is you're overloaded. And when you give good stuff in there, it can feed them.
Yeah,
It
and
can
that's what I
assist
figured
them.
it's doing it. So then I shouldn't take, so I stopped taking all of that.
Well, for now, what we need to do first is get rid of those parasites, because
So I
they're
shouldn't
the
be eating
core
sauerkraut
cause.
and taking probiotics. And
Oh, it's probably helping you, but it's also feeding
but
them.
It's hurting. Yeah, it's doing
Yeah.
both.
And so we got to get rid of them.
So stop for now.
Well, it may be helping you some, because helping your flora actually helps you.
Yeah.
You may not be able to, you may not have been alive if you hadn't been doing what you're doing. Because
I know.
people die because they can't
that's how
absorb
bad
their
it's been.
nutrients. I just talked to a lady here in Fairfield who has a friend who had some old, nutritious, good stuff, but it was way old. And he started eating it, and he started getting really sick. And each time he'd eat it, he got sicker. Each time he ate it, he got sicker. Well, that stuff, that good stuff, had fed the bad stuff, and it had become bad. And without him knowing, he was poisoning himself. And so one of the things you have to do is unpoison yourself by putting good stuff in and getting rid of the bad.
Agenus Vanderplants, don't you, who healed himself, who eats like fermented meat, he ferments for years, 3 years, and lets it rot and mold and just decay, and it's horrible. But he cured himself. The Indians up in the woods taught him how to eat dead rabbits and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You
You have to have a pretty good immune
Of
system
cancer.
to get all that stuff in.
Anyway, interesting. The
yeah.
more mold, he molds fruit and everything, eats moldy stuff, and he's
Yes.
cured.
This is probably one of the reasons we're talking about this, because actually fermented stuff is very important, very good for you.
Yeah,
Fermented has a lot of these good lactobacillus, the bifidus species. Bifidus are really good for you. This lactobacillus vulgaris, I always tell people about it because it is anti-staph and anti-strep. And they found, the reason they called it Lactobacillus bulgarius is because in Bulgaria there was this valley that had this bacteria in the water system. And all the people there lived 20 years longer than everybody else. And it was because of this bacteria. It was a good bacteria that helped keep them healthy. And so, there's a lot of good bacteria that help us. Like some of these are some of the others that are in the body. Now, when we eat too much sugar, it can actually mutate some of these bugs and make them into bad bugs. Like Streptococcus thermophilus helps keep you from getting cavities. When this mutates by eating too much sugar, it becomes Streptococcus mutans. They even call it mutant.
even fruit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's, yeah.
And
fruit
so
is a
it can become bad by eating too much sugar. Gingivitis, is caused by Porphyromonas gingivalis, and Helicobacter pylori causes gingivitis. Gum deterioration, Actinobacillus, Acetobacillus mycominatin, spirochetes, syphilis and Lyme's disease. How many people do you know with Lyme's? We're getting an epidemic of Lyme's now.
We
And
both had it. A kinesiologist told us that it's gone, but I'm not quite convinced.
Well, it mutates. Both syphilis and Lyme's, they found, are what they call polymorphic. In other words, poly means more, morphic is forms, so it comes in various forms. It can hide as a parasite for years and then come back out. So,
Yeah.
well, you're lucky you did get rid of it. So, but now you got these other things, but it's okay. Bad breath, fusiform bacteria, cavities, strep mutans, the one that mutated from the Streptococcus on the other one, the Thermophilus. And so when it mutates, it causes cavities rather than protecting your teeth. Kind of an interesting thing. Tooth and gum diseases with associated bacteria. The mutated strep, atypical bacteria. Recent last 150 years, cardiovascular disease, is still the #1 cause of death, besides your doctor. And so it's been suggested that the presence of all this inflammation from these aberrant bacteria and parasites and various things is causing most of the cardiovascular disease. And in contrast to the hunter-gatherer, you know, when we started out, we would go out and hunt our food, gather berries, you know, eat nuts, good things for our body. And now that's one of the least things that a lot of us eat. I've started buying bags of nuts when I travel, so I don't go crave the little stuff when I go in the gas stations, you know. And so I just sit and eat the good stuff. But you know, with the modern diet full of refined carbohydrates and sugars, we have mouths dominated by mutant species of bacteria, and those go down into our system. And the more diversity you have, so by taking probiotics, you're actually making diversity in your body, which helps. It makes you more resilient, more able to cope with stress. They've found that people who take probiotics, their adrenal glands are better, their kidneys are better, their bowels are better, their livers are better. I mean, they found all these things coming up. So it's good to take good bacteria. Problem is, if we mutate them by eating bad, then we just propagate the problem. Okay. Changing the flora. The effects of diet on the bacterial population is so important. And they found sometimes throwing a bunch of good bacteria in with a bunch of bad stuff like what you're doing just feeds the bad stuff because they eat it. So what they found is you have to starve them.
Meat.
Starve them. I'm sorry.
What if you're about type A? I mean, meats, you know, everything else is sugar. I don't care
Yes.
if it's a vegetable. That's mine.
You have to starve them. And how do you do that? You make a meat broth. Maharishi came to me a year ago and told me, go teach this recipe as a vegetarian broth. So there is a vegetarian broth. So, and you know, I'll write down your email address and I'll send it to you. But they found you have to do a fast, not a long fast, for 3 to 5 days, but you drink this broth, which has fat and meat products in, or vegetarian and
Just the broth.
yeah, but you have to drink the broth because there's the vegetarian broth kills the bad bacteria. The meat and fish and chicken broth does the same thing. It helps lower their count, lower their taking
Yeah,
over your body.
all this goes away.
Yeah.
Right.
So the parasites and fungus needs to be eliminated first, as they're the top of the food chain. So when we talk about parasites, you know, we'll talk about that on Friday. I was so happy to see this lady that came to see me today. Her probiotic had 235 billion species. And that's where we're supposed to be. Most probiotics have 10, 20, you know, not very many. So you've got to take something that's got a lot of good stuff. And what I recommend to people is do the fast with the broth first, then reseed the bowel. Because if you do it, if you're feeding your bacteria, it's tough to kill them off. So, okay, setting your intent. This is so important. Our intent causes everything. If it's our intent to heal, it will lead us to pray for help, to eat better, to get in a better environment. It's the beginning of everything. So setting your intent, I am in charge of my health. Don't give it away to somebody else. Most people, their intent is either to help the pharmaceutical company, help the hospital, help make themselves some money, whatever their intent is. You need to go to a healer whose intent is pure, that all their desire is to heal you. I mean, I was taught in medical school, be a good doctor and the money will come. Well, I believe the same thing applies to being a good healer. Be a good healer, the money will show up. God blesses us when we're doing the right thing. So, I'm in charge of my health, and I test everything that goes into my body. I take good care of myself. Multiple sources of toxins are in our environment and can be reduced and or eliminated and or uncreated is what I've learned now. And so if each one of us, gods who created this planet in the first place, can take our minds and our intent and set to clean up this planet, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to clean up.
Is there a trick in uncreating?
What's-
When you say uncreate, how do you
Exactly. We
uncreate?
created this crap
So how do you uncreate? Like
through your intent,
just a simple
through your
intent.
thoughts. You go into your mind and you go, okay, I'm going to uncreate the toxins around me. You start little because we have a little spark. But if you can get a whole group together and start doing it and uncreating the bad stuff, it's very, very powerful. Very powerful. When 2 or more of you are gathered in my name, you can perform miracles. It's very cool. So clean up the environment in your body and help others to be educated and help others to learn how to uncreate. I swear, all you do is you lay there, and you can do it before you go into your meditation. You can do it just before you go to sleep, and just say, I uncreate all the toxins in my environment. Just making that statement helps do it.
Can you do that with a living organism like a parasite or a germ or
Yes.
bacteria?
Absolutely.
Uncreated as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We created them, we can uncreate them. Okay. So, pesticides, herbicides, petrochemicals, detergents, fabric softeners. I mean, we have all kinds of stuff. We need to get this stuff out of our lives. I haven't sprayed any herbicides or any of that kind of crap for years, thank goodness. But we're living in an area that's affluent, and so everybody around us is spraying. And my wife got really sick last year, and she says, Scott, we've got to move because these people are getting their houses sprayed every month, and they're all around us, and we get the stuff. So I've started praying that it gets dissolved, but for my wife's sake, she got her dad started building her house out, and we're out away from everybody and everything. We don't have any neighbors, so we know we won't be having people spraying around us, which will be good. But it's interesting. My neighbor went out and he had some crabgrass, so instead of digging out the crabgrass, he sprayed Roundup on his whole lawn and just killed the whole sucker off. And he doesn't realize that Roundup has a 500-year half-life. In other words, it takes 500 years to break down half of it. Now, I think we can accelerate that with our intent. But if you've got people around you spraying that stuff, the dead zone down in the Gulf of Mexico, you know what that's from? Roundup coming down the Mississippi. It goes down, and you can see it. It's a big dead zone right at the peninsula, or the delta. The delta. Yeah, it's Roundup. And people have no clue. It's like, they go, oh, we don't know why everything's dead in this area, Oh, it's weird. So anyway, new studies are showing autoimmune disease is being caused by pesticides and herbicides. We've got these weird Parkinson-like diseases showing up. Pesticides. They had a study come out recently that said diabetes is being caused, not just by overeating sugars, but pesticides are making our cells not respond to the insulin, so insulin resistance. There's a third type of, I went to a seminar this last weekend, they were talking about diabetes, and now they're thinking there's 4 types of diabetes instead of just 2. And they can't figure out why these other 2 are occurring. Well, they're occurring because of pesticides and herbicides and detergents. All this stuff is affecting our cell membranes and causing new autoimmune diseases. They're finding diabetes 90% of the time is autoimmune. 10% of the time, parasites go in and eat all your islets of Langerhans, which produce your insulin. And when they get them all eaten, they're gone, so you get diabetes because you have no insulin. So you have to take insulin in order to live. Okay, so it's interesting. We've got the ICD-10 now. The ICD-9 was out for years. What that is, it's the International Classification of Disease. And the ICD-9 got so overloaded, they had to make a whole new type of system for diagnosis, because we're getting a diagnosis of a chronic new disease that the doctors don't know what the heck's causing it every month. One every month, sometimes 2 a month. And they had to come out with a new way of labeling all these things. So they came out with the ICD-10. So anyway, it's interesting that this has been happening so much. Now, autoimmune disease is 2 times more common than cancer. 2 times more common and devastating. At least with cancer, you die, but with these autoimmune diseases, you just feel like crap all the time. But it received 1/10 of the funding for research. Kind of interesting little statistics that I actually got those statistics this last weekend. I made that slide. Add healthy mantras. I'm studying the I am discourses right now. And it was really fascinating because I'm friends with Wayne Dyer. And guess what he's studying right now? The I am discourses. And he's writing a book about it. Do you guys know what the I am discourses is? It's the Saint Germain series, written back in the 1930s. And fascinating stuff. But let me tell you, I am healthy. That immediately brings your vibration of your body up to 780. My book vibrates at 780. I didn't realize this until David Hawkins wrote a book called Power versus Force, and he made the map of consciousness, which shows the vibration of all these different emotions and different words, different things. And I was speaking at a conference in June. So I haven't been here since June. And so this is new for you guys. But anyway, I went to the conference and gave my talk, and then the guy after me, he's just like this guy that studied under David Hawkins for 5 years, and he put the map of consciousness, and it had a bunch of words on the side and their vibration. And one of them was health. Guess where health vibrates at? 780. And 780 vibrates in unconditional love, pure consciousness, and compassion. Isn't that cool? So if you're healthy, you're vibrating in compassion and health. So think how many of us are kind of faltering, at a lower vibration. And so health, I am healthy, vibrates. That statement will instantly bring your vibration up to 780. Isn't that interesting? I am peaceful. I am loving. I am perfect. I am God. I am that I am. Saying those things are so powerful to raise your vibration to what you really are. And so, mantras, I release the toxins in my body. Every time I'm peeing, I'm like, okay, I'm releasing the toxins, but I got to uncreate them because I don't want to give them back to the earth to toxify somebody else. So as I'm peeing now, I uncreate all the toxins coming out of my body. Okay, when you breathe, I release toxic vapors from my system, transmuting them. Transmutation is changing them. Changing the bad and bringing in healing prana and oxygen, and dissolving and uncreating all the bad vapors that are coming out of me. I'm adding that now. This slide's a little old. It's only 6 months. No, it's only 4 months old. Okay, when we eat food, I bless the food to cleanse and detoxify my body. These are very powerful statements. And they will, our minds, they have shown through studies, when we intend something, it actually creates matter. It can create life. It can create anything our imagination desires. They did a study where a bunch of scientists were focusing on making this metal weigh more. And guess what? It started weighing more. While they were watching the scale, it increased the weight. Isn't that interesting? Same thing as we can do with our bodies when we're meditating. We can fly. We can fly. Our only limitation is our imagination and our brain. Okay, so when we drink, I bless this to you to cleanse and detoxify my body. And I bless, that it'll be good for me. Spiritual healers. I haven't met a spiritual healer I haven't liked. Chiropractors, naturopathic physicians, craniosacral therapists, massage therapists, all of these are so good for you and good to go to and good to listen to but always you're in charge of your own health. Okay? So past life regressionists. My wife is a past life regressionist. And I kept having this one particular problem. And finally, I did a past life regression, found out why. It's because in that lifetime, I had done something and it had affected my health. And so we fixed that, brought the energy forward without that causing a problem for my health. And it's helped tremendously.
To go back to your previous slide, you don't have to go back, but anger or frustration, those are very big nowadays.
Yes.
How do you neutralize that? Because when you're in the middle of it, you don't think of it.
Yes.
So what can
We
you
have
do
to
to neutralize the effect?
We neutralize it. I went through a full year of being angry as hell at the government. And luckily, God loved me enough to bring this 85-year-old psychic into my life, and she trained me. She actually took me and taught me that you have to cancel whatever you're creating if it's not good. You have to cancel it within 20 seconds. Or it starts creating problems. It starts integrating into your cellular matrix. And so anytime you have a negative thought or anything, you got to recognize it and change that thought. I have a little book that I just love. Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is. There it is. Feelings Buried in Life Never Die.
Oh, yeah,
This
that's a
was
good book.
written by Carol Truman. And this is a little booklet that talks about all the emotions and their opposite vibrations and everything. And so whenever I get some negative thought or something, immediately I cancel it. And then I look it up in my little booklet and see what I need to replace it with, the opposite stuff. And it helps keep it from creating any problem in my body.
And how about the environment as well?
Exactly.
If I get angry at you, it affects you and not only me.
Exactly. And so I ho'oponopono everybody. I ho'opono the chairs
What do you mean?
before you came in. Ho'oponopono is a way of creating a space of love, forgiveness, and gratitude, all of which vibrate very high. And we'll believe it or not, I've got a slide on this, so we'll get to that. But very good to do that. Herbs, tonics, oils, all of these are God's medicine. And I believe in all of them. I believe they help us during the period we're developing the faith to heal ourselves. And they do help.